Many people think this may be the perfect time with those of you who have a new idea or big dreams to start your own business and get going. But we all know it's not that simple. Tonight we talked to Margie Warrell, author of the new book, Find Your Courage, 12 Acts for Becoming Fearless at Life and Work. She's here tonight to share her tips about steps you need to get ahead. And Margie, not just for anyone, not just for those wanting to start businesses, but anyone in the financial world and in the working world who are trying, as Michelle Obama said, to find that balance. You coach a lot of executives, so we're going to take advantage of that knowledge and go through steps 1 through 12. So let's start with number 1.
Great. Take
Responsibility. And I love one of the quotes in the book. You said, if you're not fully responsible for your life, then you blame others when things aren't going well.
Exactly.
Okay, guilty as charged. So explain to us why we need to stop doing that.
Well, you know, you can't always choose your circumstances. You know, right now, look at the economy. You know, some people find themselves out of work. It's not necessarily their fault. But we do get to choose how we respond to it. And when people say, okay, how will I respond to my current situation, however dire it might seem, it puts us in a position of power. And then we can be far more creative, innovative, resourceful, rather than sitting there kind of complaining and feeling sorry for ourselves.
I hate complainers, and I'm definitely not a whiner. But at the same time, if things are going wrong, I'm going to say, look, there's this reason, and this reason, and they aren't always leading back to me. You say that's going to just muddle the waters.
It doesn't mean that we have created the mess we've got. I mean, if you're out of work, your companies are cutting back people, that's how it is. But what are you going to do in the face of that? You know, we don't always choose those circumstances. We're not always, like, responsible for them. But we are always responsible for how we deal with them. And the people who ultimately do the best right now in the current circumstances are those who say, okay, so what can I do here? How can I solve this problem in a different way?
Man up for us women and men. I love it. Step number 2, you say, have the courage to find your integrity. Without it, you say, if you describe it as cracks in your foundation, and with those cracks, and your integrity is compromised, everything could fall apart.
Absolutely. I think integrity is the only path upon which you never get lost. And if you think of the best leaders, the greatest leaders, whether in politics, business, any arena, they're people who have a great commitment to doing what's right, whether or not it's always politically expedient, you know, to doing what they know is the correct thing to do, even when there's a cost. So I think having integrity is paramount to really being successful in business and life.
See, I find that interesting because I get into a lot of discussions with my other journalist friends who think that sometimes you can be held more accountable for your integrity as a politician, although they aren't always, than as a business person. That sometimes in the business world, people who find ways to cut corners and not always live up to moral code get ahead.
I think it always catches up with people, and you know, you don't have to look too far to find people where it has caught up with them in pretty profound ways, and it's an enormous cost often to their family, to the organisation. Enron.
Enron. Even Martha Stewart finally caught up to her.
Yeah, it catches up.
And then this third one I really found to be an interesting chapter, and I read it inside and out, and I recommend others get the book to read it themselves. But you say, challenge your stories. And what you explain by that is that all of us develop our own life stories, and we let other people develop our stories, and then we get boxed in and limited. So, for example, you give many examples where you say, people who say, oh, well, I can't save money, no one in my family is good at saving money, and you say, get rid of that story if it's limiting.
Or women. I can't get ahead, I'm a woman. You know, that's just a story, and when we have these stories, it keeps us from taking the actions that would allow us to get ahead or to solve the problem or to create the relationship or to achieve the success. So we don't see the world as it is, we see it as we are. And so often we live in these assumptions, false assumptions and beliefs that really keep us from taking effective actions that would produce results.
One question I had about that is, if you challenge your own story, how do you get others around you to rethink your story as well? If you've always been, oh, you're that person, you're the loud one, you're the careless one, you're the whatever one, how do you then
Well, I do. I think we condition people to respond to us and relate to us in a certain way. So it takes time for people to get, this person's shift. I think that can take a lot of time. But, you know, it starts with us. And to say, well, what's the point? Everyone thinks I'm a loser, or everyone thinks I'm hopeless with money. That's such a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? So.
Very good tip. I really like that chapter. We've got 3 more tips for today, and then we're going to have you back on another night, so stay put. We're going to get a check of the hour's top stories with Philip Stewart, who's standing by in the newsroom. Hi, Philip.
Hi there, Rebecca. Here's what we're following for you.
we're back to continue our conversation with Margie Warrell about her book, Find Your Courage, 12 Acts for Becoming Fearless at Work and in Life. We've gone through our first 3 steps to getting the life you want. Now to number 4. Margie, you say that really one of the most important things you can do is dream bigger. Don't be afraid to dream big. Dream bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Michelangelo once said, the greater danger is not that our dreams are too big and we fail to achieve them, but they're too small and we do. And I think so often we underestimate ourselves and we sell out on what we really, really want. So I think it's important to go, what is it that I really want? If I had no fear of failing, what would I try to do?
You use a phrase that I think is so key in this. You said, we numb our ambitions because we get so overwhelmed by the obstacles that rather than have those dreams, we just try to numb them and make them go away. But you say, do the opposite, invite challenges.
Yeah, well, I think life, if you're looking to just have a really safe, easy life, sure, avoid it all. But, you know, people who have the richest experience of life, who achieve the greatest success, and I think get the most fulfillment, aren't people who stay in their comfort zone. They take risks, and they ask that question, what is it that really excites and inspires me?
How do you get away from that fear of, if I dream big, I'm going to feel overwhelmed and like I'm failing?
You know, fear is natural. I think we all have fear, and even when we dream big, we still have the fear. But courage isn't the absence of fear, it's action in the presence of it. So action is the best antidote to fear, just antidote to fear. Just take action anyway. And I think ultimately we realize, I'm capable of more than I think I am. And we see results.
You also say, and this is something that I think a lot of us fear in the workplace, although this is one where I'm not guilty of, be yourself. You say many people have an instinct for self-preservation that hinders them from being themselves in the workplace and in life. But you know what? I get in trouble sometimes for being myself. So how do you balance that?
Well, I think, you know, there's a lot of pressure on people to conform and to fit in and to comply with, you know, social expectation and be normal. But, you know, to be self-expressed, you know, this is who I am, and to own that. And it doesn't mean you're offensive, but just to be who we are. I think there's a lot of freedom in that. I think a lot of people would be more successful in the workplace if they could just be more comfortable with just expressing their own uniqueness and individuality.
I have to say, you know, I'm the first one to say I'm not everyone's cup of tea. It can be loud and boisterous, and I call it like I see it. But on the other hand, while those same qualities have held me back at times, they've also helped me accomplish many of the things I want to do.
You know, and if people are not going to like you, at least have them not like the real you.
That is a great point. I love that. I'm going to remember that. And you said once you become comfortable being yourself, be ready. People may criticize and it may unsettle people, but in the end, you say number 6, speak up.
Yeah.
You can't get the outcome you want if you operate by fear of not speaking up.
I think the price we pay for avoiding life's difficult conversations far exceeds the discomfort we feel when we have those conversations, when we speak up and say how we feel. And, you know, so often people avoid speaking up about things because they don't want to ruffle feathers or have a confrontation.
But just do it.
But it has a big price.
Executive Coach Margie Warrell, great book. I think everyone should read it. Thanks so much. Well, we'll have more with Margie in a later show to do steps 6 through 12. But that's it for tonight for this part of the show. But we'll have more of Washington Business Tonight after the break.